things that I think we don't think about a lot with self-love is how not having it fully present in our life affects our lives. Every decision that we make can be enhanced through self-love. Every decision that we make. Every person that we draw to us has to do with our level of self-love as well. Those who truly, and when I say love, self-love, I'm not talking about that ego thing about being, thinking you're really cool. It's about that part of you that is really connected to your God self, to your highest, truest self, to that spark that is God that lives within you. And it's as you allow that to really come forth and grow, it transforms your life. It's a powerful transformer. I'm a perfect example of that because in my childhood and then through several marriages and being a mother and stepmother and many chaotic things that happened through my life, my decisions all along were what fueled those things, as is true with all of us. And so it's the chaos that I lived in was a great reflection of that I felt inside. There was a time when I came to a point of just absolute self-loathing. And it was one of those things where it wasn't about my physical appearance, it wasn't about any of that. It was about my regrets, my judgments, all of those things that we do to ourselves. And I began to work in different ways on moving out of that. Not even aware at the time that that's what I was doing, but with grace made certain decisions. There was a night that I went to bed with self-loathing and a morning that I woke up without it. And that was a miracle. That was just this wonderful line through which I was able to step into, not into self-love yet, but out of that very dark place of self-loathing. And then building one day at a time upon that, coming into still some decisions that were not the greatest for me, still in lesson, but then moving into those decisions that were loving and caring for myself. I look at my life as that transition and how I stand strong in who I am now. I'm not buffeted by other people's thoughts about me even, where before I could be crushed by it, whether they even thought it or not. If I thought they might think it, I could be crushed by it, and now, and it's part of the reason, it's one of the reasons why I can do the work that I do, because I can stay in that real point of neutrality. And neutrality seems like kind of an odd thing to cherish, but it is that place where you are no longer swayed by that negative, and you are not swayed either by that is too much adulation, right? You're not trying always to, I got a reward because I pleased these people, so I'm going to work for a greater reward. It's staying in that nice zone of knowing and trusting that who you are and what you're doing in this moment is perfectly right for you, and therefore perfectly right for all around you. One of the things that I think we step into a lot through our lives is the caretaking part, where we put other people's needs first, or what is perceived as their needs. It's really more their wants. And we can be really used in that way as we move through. But as we come to love ourselves and we stand firm in that love, then we realize that we can disconnect from that. We can quit judging ourselves for not providing what they're wanting or needing. We can quit judging them for wanting something for which we really have no responsibility in giving. And we can move into that higher plane of existence, that higher level of perspective that helps us to see that they're working on their stuff. And unless I make it my stuff, it's not my stuff, it's theirs. And I'm working on my stuff. And if I choose not to make my stuff theirs, they can work on theirs and I can work on mine, and we can both grow much faster within that in a much more real, tactile way almost. Another thing is the judgment, and we carry judgments from infancy. We carry judgments for many lifetimes before, but as we come into that space of loving ourselves, it helps us to see from that higher perspective that everybody is doing the best they can in the moment with what they have to work with, you know, just as we are. And when we quit putting judgment, because we often start with judgment on ourselves, but you can't just be self-judgmental. You have to be judgmental of all things if you're judgmental at all. It's just like one of those things, you know? It's like a little contagion. And so when we can move out of that, when we can look at what our responsibilities are within whatever we're involved, you know, what is my role in this? What is my responsibility and my culpability in this? And look at it clearly, then we're able, again, to disconnect from the chaos of it. Say, okay, I own this part of it. This part of it I'm going to work on for myself. But I don't own that part of it. So I'm not going to work on that part. They can work on that. And as you move more and more into the rhythm of that, it becomes easier and easier. And as it becomes easier to love yourself, it really becomes easier to freely love others. Not feeling that love is a chain, but actually feeling the joy of just the simplicity of love in itself. There are so many ways that we seek love, and so many of them are unhealthy. And when we can make that deep heart connection that is into that very core of who we are, and we ignite that and expand on that, then it's amazing the changes, the actual physical changes of our world around us, the people we attract to us, the opportunities that we attract. And that can all be considered, you know, a part of the law of attraction. But there can be no good in the law of attraction without the love of self as well, because you're not going to be attracting those things that really are most beautiful and joyful for you. Whispers of Love is one that I work with, and she is the divine consciousness of sacred self-love. And sacred self-love actually lives within every human being. No matter how they are out picturing in this world, no matter what they're projecting in this world, that core of sacred self-love, that divinity, lives within each person's heart, within their sacred heart. They may not see it at all, they may not hear it at all, but she whispers. And the reason she whispers, we receive a lot of yelling in this world. She whispers so that we will quieten, we will still ourselves in order to hear the words that are said, or the feelings that are felt, or the visions that are seen, that totally support self-love, that ignite that within us and expand it within us. And she's someone that we can all call on at any time. You just call her forth. I call forth whispers of love. And you can do it in any time, in any situation. You can just, with your mind, just call her forth. If you're in a disagreement with someone, or if you're in a tight spot, whatever, you're feeling anxious, if you're, you just call her forth and let that love settle in and bring you the peace that she is. And she wants to work with you for just a moment, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to move the chair since I'm going to have you come up here, because I know they've got that.
O norialite agneme fiareo
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do people have like a physical reaction or anything to that ever, or like kind of like?
I actually work with a vast group of beings, the ancient beings of the light, and I bring in a form of healing. It's part of the light beyond all life. It's called the Enzanic energies of healing, and that works within your physical body, and it goes in and it seeks out distortion within cells, and that distortion could be limiting beliefs, anger, bitterness, any kind of thing that is not in your highest good, that is not serving you. It can be dis-ease. And it goes into that cell that has the distortion, and it finds the perfection within that cell. Because this is what we have to understand, is there's perfection within all of us, and there's perfection within every cell, within all of us. That's a lot of perfection. And so they go in and they find that, and they expand. This light expands on that perfection until the cell is pure light. And then the cell and that light move to the next cell that has distortion. And so it just works together within your physical self. Now it can include healing of physical pain, symptoms of disease, whatever. It can also have to do with those things that we've locked within ourselves, either in this lifetime from the wounds we've received, or it can be those things that we've carried with us through our soul or through, into this physical body that we carry now or that we wear now. It works with the soul body because the soul body carries a lot of guilt and victimhood, and neither of those serve us. Guilt does not serve anyone, and victimhood certainly does not. Both are very disempowering. And so it works within that field, with just this vast wave of love that comes into the soul body, clearing that of all of those things, of this and all lifetimes. Then it works in the etheric fields, and it gives you access to these vast balls of light that are yours, and that help you. Each one, it has kind of a special purpose, and it helps you to fulfill who you are in this lifetime as the being above as well. The way I see it is that we have Source, and then we have that first individuated section of us that comes out of Source, like the feet are still in Source, right? And then, but that is our highest true self, and it is the purest thing closest to Source that is individuated, and it's individuated in purpose. And then from that, then it filters out, and it's very complex, and I never even think about the complexities of it. I think of that and how that can connect directly with us, with each of us having that and connecting here. And so that helps us. There are many ways too for you to step into that and to embrace those energies. And anytime you can be around those things that are really uplifting for you, whether it's music, being around people who are just loving in nature, people who love themselves, that you see that mirror in somebody else. This person really honors his or herself. And that gives you that mirror. As you come into that self-love and you come into that feeling, that holiness that is you, that connection to the divine that is you, as you step into that, then you act as the mirror for those around you. So it can, I had a woman come today, excuse me, just a second. Had a woman come by who she just came over, and I sell waters of light that are, through ceremony of sound and energy, then the frequency of certain things come into the water. So like sacred self-love, forgiveness, joy, peace, many of them, different waters, to help people make their shifts. And so she came by and she bought 2 of my CDs and she bought 2 waters. And she had been having some terrible cramps all day. She'd taken my dolls, she'd taken everything, and she still felt really bad. She picked those up and she walked back. She's a vendor here, and she walked back to her table. She had to come back and tell me that when she picked them up and walked away, the pain was gone. And she didn't even have a session with me. She just bought the stuff, right? So, yes, it does affect the physical. And love or unlove affect the physical tremendously as well. The frequencies of love or the frequencies of unlove, which is fear in all of its ugly, different manifestations, which is still fear. That's the stress, that's the anger, That's all of those things that can be a tool to move into a next level of vibration, but not to stay within. Right? I mean, if we're way down here, getting into anger can be a good thing because it can lift us out of that and then propel us on. So there are a lot of ways that each vibrational thing can help us move into the next one. But there's love and there's not love, essentially. So, do you have any questions?
I choose love.
I choose love. Love is good. Love is really good.
Well, I was just saying about the physical reaction thing because my leg here started getting nervous and jumpy. My right leg. It was all like,
yeah, so
hey,
the energies were,
hey, you know. So,
yeah.
And I know that, like, that's one of the things I really need to work on is self-love, you know, just because, I don't know. something hasn't been there, right?
Yeah. Oh,
But
I understand it, sweetheart. I really do.
And I know it hasn't been there.
Yeah.
I mean, not like, I guess I haven't been down in that loathing much.
Right.
I haven't been down there very much, but I definitely haven't been at all
in the loving.
In the love part. So.
Yeah. And I gotta tell you, you know, it took me even from that point of that miracle into that not loathing. And I understand some of the reasons why I felt that way, you know. But when I came into that, then I was able to do things for myself that made a huge change in my life, not being weighed down by that burden of it. It's a huge burden. And then I didn't, it wasn't like I made every decision right. If you think in terms of oh, this is really good for you, this is another challenge for you. You know, I still invited some challenge in, but my decisions became more and more about supporting myself lovingly. When my gifts came in 2003, I left. I was working at EDS, and I left EDS and went to massage school, and then that was in 2000. And in 2003, my gifts started coming in, and it was just, you know, my hands started going where they were meant to go, and then they started working with me with sound. I would never have thought that I would be, you know, working with sound. And, you know, they've worked with me for these, you know, like 15 years, so, or 12 years, 14 years, 13, whatever, those years. All those years, I was just trying to remember who I am and where I am. But they've worked with my voice in all that time. It's all channeled. All the sound is channeled. So even the angels of sound are working with the vocal cords and everything themselves. But it's as we move into that, then they actually started using those the enzanic energies on me, and I would tone down my arm, and I would get to a place where the tone would go flat, and it would stay there until it came back up, and then they would move me on down. There were tremendous changes in I had migraines from probably 14 years old, and really severe at times, you know, where I was taking medication all the time to prevent them. And I have not had a migraine since then, even with eating and drinking any of the triggers that normally are for migraine, nothing. I had been married to 3 men who were unfaithful. I am now with a man who is like the poster child for faithfulness, you know. And so have this wonderful relationship with my husband. I live in peace. I live in joy. And so it's just, you know, in so many things along this path and how they've changed and how, you know, how I can help people now without taking everything of me in it to help. I can stand back and not involve myself in other people's chaos. I can stand back, and in my standing back, in my standing in my strength and in my light and in my peace, I can affect them without doing anything for them or to them. You know, it's just by being. And that's how I see that network coming into being. The more of us who can stand in our love of self, and we can shine that light out, then that affects the next person and the next person and the next person and the next person. It's just like when the enzanic energies come in and they find that cell with distortion and they find the perfection within it and they light it up. It's the same thing as we move through our lives. Pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yes, yes it is.
Now, I do private work. Today I'm doing readings with some sound and doing readings from Whispers of Love. But I do private work. I can do it on Skype or do it in my home. And I charge $150 for a session. I charge $100 a session if you do 4 sessions within a month. So this is something that you can think about if you would like to work with me. I live over in McKinney. So if the location is a problem, then we can do it over Skype. But stop by my table, it's just right up here, and get my information.
Yeah.
Ciao.